So a common problem that comes up when we're struggling with mental health is trying to figure out whether a fear is a real, rational fear or it's an irrational fear. And this is one of those situations where I say, actually, the question is the problem. Trying to answer that question and be certain about that isn't going to help you. In fact, it's only going to make things worse. When you're struggling with mental health, you can always, 100% of the time, think of reasons and evidence to support your fears. When I struggled with my mental health, it never even occurred to me that some of my fears might be not real or irrational. I believed everything. Everything that popped in my head, I believed is 100% totally real. I had reasons, I had evidence. And so at work, I had all sorts of anxieties and compulsions related to work, and I would do all sorts of things to try to prevent terrible things from happening. And so I believed completely all of those terrible worries that would pop into my head and all of those fears. And so I was constantly judging what I was doing, judging what others were doing, and believing that what that meant was, because I would judge myself as having done something horrible, and that would mean I was going to get fired, I was going to go broke, I was going to end up out on the street, I was going to contract some kind of disease, and then I was going to die out on the street, alone, penniless. And this was just a constant, totally real thing that I believed, and I would react to that. I would engage in all sorts of compulsions at work as a reaction to that fear. And of course, my reactions to that fear, all of those compulsions, actually would lead to me not doing my work well. So a very typical thing that happens, we react to fears in our head, and we do things that actually contribute to making those fears seem more real, which only feeds that cycle. When it came to recovery, it wasn't about lining up evidence to prove my worries wrong. I remember there were times when therapists tried a very typical CBT approach, so cognitive behavioral therapy. A typical approach often involves like lining up the evidence against your worries and lining up the evidence to show why the worry might be true, and then looking at how the evidence against the worry there's more of it. But of course, I could always think of more evidence to back up my belief that I was going to, get fired, end up out in the street, homeless, penniless, without anybody, and die from some terrible, painful disease. Always. So recovery for me wasn't about labeling those worries as irrational or unreasonable, not real, part of OCD, whatever. That didn't work for me. What did work for me was recognizing that all of my fears are real fears. They're all fears. I'm actually afraid of them. They are real. They are real things in my head. This is the same concept that I talked about in the video on memories and labeling bananas. Right? The memories, it's not about whether it's a real memory or a false memory, an OCD memory. It's a memory. It's in your head. It's a real thing in your head. You can label it and you can judge it, but it's still just going to be a thing in your head. And that labeling and that judging is the compulsion. That is what's contributing to the mental health struggle, and it's no different when it comes to a worry or a fear. Trying to label it as irrational and rational just gets you into a downward spiral that's contributing to poor mental health. The stuff in my head, the stuff in your head is just stuff in our heads. I can label it, I can judge it, and I can base my actions around those judgments. But that's no different than if I went outside and I saw a cloud in the sky and I labeled it, and then I based my actions around that label for the rest of the day. Judging and labeling the stuff in our heads and then reacting to those judgments and basing our life around those judgments is no different than going outside and judging and labeling the clouds in the sky and then basing our actions around those labels and judgments we make about the cloud. So here's a cloud. I can judge it, I can stick a label on it, so let's call it a bad cloud. Now, because it's a bad cloud, that's going to make me feel really upset. I'm going to feel terrible because there's a bad cloud out there and I don't like bad clouds and I want to get rid of that, so I'm going to keep checking throughout the day just to make sure that is that bad cloud still there? And I'm probably going to modify some of my other actions because, I don't want to do a lot of work on a day when I'm having bad clouds. And, the bad cloud might mean that something terrible could happen. It might mean that I'm bad because there's a bad cloud up there. I might not go outside so I don't have to see it because I don't want to be reminded about the bad cloud. I might ask other people to go and do the things that I was going to do outside because I don't want to have to go and deal with the bad cloud. I can just stay away from that and keep that stress out of my life. Now, here's the thing. If I judge that cloud as bad, and I feel good about judging that cloud as bad, it's helped me avoid all the bad things that go along with bad clouds, my brain is going to want to judge other clouds. So then I'm going to start to spend more time judging clouds. But here's the problem. I'm going to start to add up evidence for why I think one cloud is a bad cloud and another cloud is a good cloud. But then I'm going to start to do that. I'm going to start to notice that actually that bad cloud, it has some of the qualities that I would associate with a good cloud. But then also that good cloud, it has some of the qualities that typically I judge as being a bad cloud. And now I'm going to have to start to look at other clouds too, and some of those don't even seem like good clouds or bad clouds. Some are like irrational clouds and rational clouds. Some just look like unicorns, just unicorns flying in the sky. Other clouds look like real things that happen. They look like real animals or real people or real events that happened in my past that I don't want to think about again. That's a very bad cloud. I can spend my entire day trying to judge clouds and try to see how I feel around them and then judge my feelings and see if my feelings can tell me, oh, like that's a real worry or that's an irrational worry or that's something I really feel. And then I'm going to start to judge my feelings as well. Soon I'll just be spending all of my time going outside to try to judge the clouds and then base my actions off of that. But then at the same time, my actions won't really be anything I can control anymore at all, because they're all about trying to figure out what the clouds in the sky are so that I can decide what my actions are. But of course I won't have any more time to myself because I'm wasting all of my time just on the clouds. The thing is, no matter what clouds are in the sky, no matter how I judge them, no matter what label I stick on them, those clouds will not change the things I can do each day to be healthy and to be happy and reach my goals in life. Trying to label and judge the clouds is no different than trying to label and judge the fears in my head. And it doesn't matter if it's fears, it's the stuff in my head. It's the urges, it's the fears, it's the memories, it's the unicorns, whatever is in there. No matter what stuff is in my head, it's not going to change the things that I need to do each day to be healthy and happy in the long term. I really had to ask myself, do I want to devote the rest of my life, or even any moment of my life, to trying to be certain about the stuff in my head? If I'm already feeling it, I'm feeling it. If it's already there, if I've already thought it, if I've already remembered it, if I'm already afraid of it, that's all happened. There's nothing I can change about that. At the end of the day, being certain about the labels that I can stick on the stuff in my head or the clouds in the sky is not something that I value. It's not something that's going to help me be healthy. It's not something that's going to help me be happy. It's not something that's going to take me anywhere in life that I want to go. There's a prevailing approach in our society to see the stuff in our heads as either, rational and sane and ordered, or irrational and insane and disordered and in need of changing, in need of escape, in need of taking things to get rid of the feelings that those thoughts cause when we judge them. If you set aside that bias and you just accept the stuff in your head is the stuff in your head, it's there. What you can control are your actions. What you can control are the healthy things you do every day to reach your goals in life, to be healthy over the long term, and to be happy over the long term. When we accept the stuff in our head and recognize that what we control are our actions and what we control is our relationship to that stuff in our head, then we can have a very different experience in life. If you're struggling to identify whether a fear is a rational fear or an irrational fear, pause for a moment, recognize that wrestling with that question and trying to be certain about that question and get rid of the feelings caused by that question is the problem. And ask yourself if you really want to devote your life to judging and labeling clouds, or do you want to just get down to doing the things that you want to do that are going to help you achieve your goals in life and make you happy?